Wherever he's been, at Jesuit, Lutcher, Riverside, Tulane, where he coached for many years. He's posted a terrific record of 125 wins and 45 defeats with the Comets, and of course had a memorable 2011. It was a blessing to be part of that and calling their championship game as St. Charles Catholic won the 3A state championship over Amite. And he's got his Comets in the regional round of the 3A state playoffs this coming Friday night, hosting a traditional power in Notre Dame in Laplace. Last week, the Comets pulled out a thrilling 27-26 come-from-behind win on the road at Westlake, and a character win. I'm sure he'll tell you about that. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Coach Frank Monica. Frank?
Thank you, Kenny. Just like I wrote that. Thank you for having me. You guys, like you guys, because you have low standards. You always invite me back every year, Kenny. Thanks a lot. I do need to tell Coach Kaiser this. Coach Kaiser is one of the hardest working young men that I've ever been involved with, and knew he was going to be a successful guy. And he coached my two boys, and I'm always compared to him. Coach Kaiser wouldn't do it like that. And I said, I'm your dad. I'm not your coach. I'm your dad, whatever. But Coach, thank you for, and watch the Rumble and Jesuit game, and you get so much out of your kids. It's just unbelievable. And congratulations to you, and good luck to you this weekend. As Coach alluded to, we're going to the second round. I think the good Lord gave me a mulligan after last week. In fact, 2 weeks in a row, we had a mulligan against Edie White. We had to come down from 2 touchdowns back. And last week, we came down from 3 touchdowns back. Unfortunately, for the win, we rewarded with that by playing Notre Dame Crawley, who I think is probably one of the best programs in the state. And they've been in the Superdome many times and whatnot. They have their own locker room down there. They've been in the Superdome so many times. Coach Cook and I go back a long way. We broke into coaching about the same time, so that's going to be tough. But yet, on the flip side of it, I'm very proud of my football team. As many as you know, Isaac brought in, the water came in from the back of the lake, and Isaac brought in a lot of water into the Laplace area. 6,900 homes were flooded there. 65% of my football team was flooded, and still are displaced and not living there. Some are living in trailers, living out of town and whatnot. We tried to bring back the team early to have a game and whatnot, and I think I brought my team back a little bit too soon. Myself, I had like 18 inches of water, and as I told my wife, we always wanted to live on the lake, not in the lake, and I always wanted Lauren furniture. Well, we had both at the same time. That's where all my furniture ended up. But but I think our kids were resilient. We lost our first 2 ball games of the year, and after that, we sort of got our sea legs, so to speak, and the guys got into a routine again, and we were able, in a real tough district, to come back. We've lost our biggest football player. We've lost a kid that's committed to Southeastern University. He has an ACL tear, and he's about 195-pound guy, whatever. And so right now, we're not a very, very big team. We have a lot of little pencil necks up there, but we have some guys that fight pretty hard, and they try to do the best we can. My quarterback still doesn't know he's a quarterback. He's 5'7", and he was a running back and whatnot. And when I tell him to throw the ball, he kind of looks at me sort of awkwardly, and he throws a good shovel pass, whatnot. But he's done a nice job of taking care of the ball for us. He's really a running back right now. And since we've put him in that spot, we've done a decent. We have about 5 guys. I have a couple older guys, the CECP coach for me. And they work their buns off. They run the JV. We have to paint the field. We don't have the luxury of having turf field yet and stuff like that. But I'm very, very proud of my football team. We have a long way to go, and I don't know if we can get by Notre Dame Crawley because they're awfully good. They're so well coached, and we look for weakness, and I don't see any on film. It might be maybe the maintenance man or something like that, but I don't see anybody on film. We're right now. I think that there's as coaches changes in the state, whatever, and they're talking about redistricting and things of that nature. We're 3A by 2 students. I tried to get my principal to kick out 10 kids prior to the turn in the numbers. He wouldn't listen to me and whatnot. So now we're 3A by. We were 3A by 4 kids. Now we're 3A by 2 kids, whatnot, and with that, we draw the honor of playing in the classification of 3A again. But I think things will change. The proposed districts right now are just preliminary for us anyway, whatnot. And I think things will change. But there's even a bigger item on the agenda that you might be aware of. It's called select, non-select. And in January, when this comes out, what select, non-select means is that if this thing passes, that all the private parochial magnet schools, any school that has some type of requirement for enrollment will be lumped together in the playoffs only. And they're going to take all the private schools and put them in a separate category. So what they're trying to do is trying to get a public school championship and a private school championship. So basically, and I'm going to tell you, that looks like it's getting a lot of momentum, whatever. And what that could do to the LHSAA, we don't know. But that's going to be voted on in January. The author of that bill is no longer there. He's no longer a principal, but someone else has picked it up. And so you're going to see, it's going to be very interesting to take place in January. So some of these districts might be all for nothing, whatever. So there's a lot that's going to go on, and the LHSAA is comprised of principals that vote on it. We as ADs and head coaches don't have any say-so in this and whatever, so it's going to be pretty interesting coming in January, whatnot. But with that, I want to thank you for having me. Guys, good luck to LSU and Tulane for the rest of the season, and Saints and whatever. Naturally, you know, everybody, I think, in the state pulls for everyone, and I think it's the playoffs are an exciting time of the year for young guys, because this is what you work for. Right after the season is over with, I told the kids, I said, it doesn't matter win or lose, you're back in the weight room on Monday, so you just as well win. And I think that's what this sport's all about. We have a great system, and Coach talked about it. The power rating system, even though we didn't like our draw, nobody likes their draw, whatnot. But the power rating system we have in Louisiana, I want you to know, a lot of states are trying to emulate that. We get calls from other states saying, how do you guys work this out about that? Because it's really, really good, and I think we're ahead of the crowd when it comes to this power rating thing. Actually, when you get in the playoffs, because of you're rewarded basically for a tough schedule. And this is even though it's not always fair in some people's eyes, it's still a great system. But with that, I'll answer any questions. I'm not going to say I'm going to answer it, but I'll listen to any questions out there. Yes, sir. It's too late now. You had to make the decision. You had to send it in. It was all confidential. It was sent in, and you had to make that decision by 12 o'clock as of last week and whatnot. And it was, and once they bumped you up, if they had 64 in one class and 55 in the other, that's the way it stands. They were not going to right now. That as far as playing up is concerned, that's done. The people that have declared to do that. There was three public schools in New Orleans decided to play up in the 3A, whatever, and they decided to do that, which is fine. But well, is it going to fly? Well, they have another, the 28th is one. We have another reclass meeting on the 28th, and there's another finals in December, and then you'll find out for sure. But that's a good question. Any other questions out there, guys? Bill? Bill, I can't agree with you enough. In the old days, it was not as much cloak and dagger as there is now. You can play wherever you want it, whatnot. And I think that's the way it should be. But that's not how it is. And I think Mr. Gambaluka, the principal of Jesuit, was the one that actually tried to get that done 2 years ago. It failed, but last year we finally got this one up so you can play at least one class. So he was wide open, where you couldn't go down, but you can go ahead.
Well, what I mean is not necessarily going up to 5A, but just having, instead of having 5 categories, have 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A, and no more 5A, and bring these teams back to where maybe travel's not as bad in districts, but really also in the playoffs, I'm seeing 3 and 5 teams making it to the playoffs. You know, and I don't know, it sounds great, but it sounds like everybody gets a trophy too.
That has been discussed. And in fact, there's some people in the LHSAA that want to because they feel like they can go to bigger districts. This is the thing. They like 5 classes because there's 32 additional teams that can get in there in the playoffs. Plus, there would be a bigger disparity between the numbers. If you reduce it to 4 classes and you're at the bottom of one of these classes, there'll be a bigger disparity rather than 5. that's the two issues that they talked about, but that has come up. Good question. Anyone else? Again, thanks for having me, especially for the free food. Appreciate it.